What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of SCUM. I'm your host, Rexx Ruger. That, of course, is the Freddie Mercury puppet. We are back with another amazing episode. My guest is already here, so we're going to get down to it and chop it up ASAP. Here we go with another one. Let's do it. I'm full of energy, kids. My brethren. Eric, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's happening, Mark?
So far, so good, right? This technology stuff, it's not failing us so far.
What's that?
I said, so far, the technology is not failing us. We're doing well here, man.
Yeah, good deal.
Yeah, pretty easy platform to use, right?
Yeah.
I try to keep it simple, man, because despite doing a podcast, man, I am not very technologically proficient. I mean, I'm 52 years old. You're probably in that same age bracket. It's just not our era.
No, but my wife's real good at all that, so she just sets it up for me. Yeah.
I think people automatically assume that because I have a podcast that I'm pretty tech savvy, which I think is further from the truth. This is about my limitations right here, man. But I'm happy to have you on here, man. First of all, usually I kind of like to start at the beginning, and you've been doing this for so long, man. But what was your upbringing like, man? Like a lot of musical artists come from a very musical household, a lot of records playing, parents that are really into music. Was that the case for you?
It was, and I have two older brothers that, kind of introduced me to, rock music, when I was a kid. And I kind of branched off from there after that. But I had a lot of influences. Both my brothers, older brothers, and my younger brother too, they're all musicians that do something. None of them are in bands or do anything. But so I seen the influence when I was young, and I wanted to play guitar, because my brothers played, and I loved listening to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and, all the bands from that time too. So I really, really wanted to do it, do something music related. But
was guitar always going to be the choice? Because I know a lot of guys come on here and sometimes they don't necessarily pick the instrument. Sometimes it picks them. Obviously, everybody wants to shred. A lot of guys we want to get into guitar. Were there any other options?
No, it was always about playing guitar for me. So I always loved the sound of guitar. I loved the sound of acoustic guitar, from being young. And I was just always kind of drawn to it. And it started when I was probably about maybe 14 or so, and picked up kind of quick because I really wanted to do it, and I see people when they want to play guitar, but they don't want to go through all the struggles of the early stuff. Nobody does, but you have to if you want to get good. Nobody's good right out the gate,
Yeah.
But I really had a passion for it. And I was like, I really want to do this. So I started learning, just stuff from, my tape deck or the radio, or record. You didn't have the computer where you could back stuff up and do all that, man. But
yeah. What was the foray into extreme metal, though? Because that obviously isn't easily digestible for everybody, man. It can turn people off, or people are very drawn to it. Do you remember a specific album or an artist that kind of got its hooks in you as far as the extreme stuff?
I think it wasn't like any one album. It was a progression, from listening, being a kid and listening to Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and, the new wave of British heavy metal, that kind of steered, I think, a lot of us, kind of going that way. And, I was, back in the tape trading days,
Sure.
So we started, trading tapes with people and getting, bands nobody's really heard of, but they're really heavy. And it just kind of went more, when I first met Chris Reifert, he had just left Death. They did the Scream Bloody Gore album. Chuck moved back to Florida, and Chris could have moved back to Florida and stayed in the band, but we had already met by then. I met Chris and Chuck probably, I don't know, maybe a month or so before he moved back to Florida. And by the time he was just going back for his birthday to visit family at first, and he didn't come back. And at one point, he called Chris. He's like, yeah, I'm going to stay here. I miss my family and being here and all that. And, if you should come here. And Chris didn't want to. We'd already been playing by then. We didn't have a band name yet, but we already started like writing our own songs, and we enjoyed it. So we were like, Chris didn't want to go. So at that point, we formed AUTOPSY, and the more extreme, I guess, the better for music at that time. Nothing's too extreme now. It's, everything's been done, it seems, but so yeah, that kind of steered us into doing what we do.
And that always has been debated a lot. And it's interesting that you brought up Death Man, you know, because everyone kind of, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the chicken or the egg. You know what I mean? Who do you think really is the forefather of that genre? You know, many people debate, is it Death? Is it Possessed? Is it somebody even before them?
I mean, there was bands at the same time, you know, I love Possessed, but it's not really death metal to me.
Yeah.
You know? And, before Chuck was doing Death, Paul had Master going also. And it's a band that when I was young, when I was starting to listen to heavier stuff, Master was one of the bands that, I was listening to, got a tape from somewhere. And so I don't know if you can really pinpoint that. I think it was just a whole general direction. Everybody at that time was just progressing towards,
Yeah. Just looking to get harder and faster and yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Yes did have a spot in that too, even though I don't really feel they're death metal. They're great, but just the extreme of it, what they did. I think that kind of, did kind of push that too a little bit, but the music itself, I didn't really find to be death metal. Although, I loved it. Seven Churches came out. It was, intense,
Yeah.
But
now you mentioned though that nothing is too extreme or too heavy nowadays. Do you feel like sometimes, and we've seen some bands really, really push the envelope, man. But sometimes a melody, you as a musician could probably understand this a little better. Sometimes a melody gets lost in there though. Do you think sometimes music can be too heavy for the sake of being heavy, or is there really no limits?
It's everybody's own, taste. You take a band like Suffocation and you're not hearing melodies, in there, but they have their own theme and people like that. They're not going to put Suffocation on to listen to melodies.
Right. Right.
So it's really to each their own and what they enjoy. Why we play the music we do is because we like it.
Right.
It's not like, okay, we're going to do this because, this is the direction of the scene or something lame. It's either people like it or they won't. We always feel like we put an album out, we're like, okay, so if you didn't like Autopsy before, you're not going to like them after this album, anymore.
Change.
So
Right.
yeah, we didn't do anything that different. We're going to go, oh, I kind of like this one, but.
And so for fans that might not know, or for people watching this that might not know the history of the band, you guys come out of the gate in '87 until '95, and then there's quite a bit of a hiatus. What was the impetus for the hiatus for people that might not know?
I was burned out, and I was starting a family. I was starting to have kids, and I wanted to be around them and do things with them, and I was kind of burned out on just playing the music and everything at that time. We did a U.S. tour, and it was not done very well. None of it was done very well, and the booking of it, there was no advertising. And about halfway through the tour, I decided, I think I'm done. We get back home. I was managing the tour and playing every night. So on the road, I was taking care of everything, and I wouldn't recommend nobody do that. You want to pick one and do one.
Yeah.
But so I was just burned out, and I took a little break from doing anything music wise. And then maybe after about a year, I started, playing at home with stuff again. And then I, with some friends, formed kind of like just a basic rock band that we were doing like cover songs like, Hendrix and Stones and, stuff like that, just for fun. I did that for a little while and eventually got tired of doing that too and stopped doing that. But
as a father and a grandfather myself, though, I can kind of understand that. So is there any part of you that looks back on that, with any type of regret? Obviously, you don't get those moments back. Like when your kids are little, I can certainly relate to that, man. As I said, as a parent and a grandparent myself, when you look back on that time, you confident, you feel like, yes, I needed to do that. That was the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. But even if I didn't, I don't look at things in the past. You can't change any of it.
Right.
So there's no need to dwell on it and, wonder if you made the right decision. I think you're just wasting your time doing that. You got to move forward. If you don't think you did something right, try to do something better tomorrow or today,
And so when you get the machine back up and running in 2009, man, what's the impetus for that? Like, how does the ball get rolling?
We were re-releasing Severed Survival for like an anniversary edition. And we thought it might help if we put like a couple of songs, like new songs on it.
Yeah.
You know, and so we got together. Chris wrote one and I wrote one, and it was pretty fun, you know, doing it. We got in the room, start rehearsing again, you know, on stuff. It was kind of fun to do that. But then when 2010, when Maryland Death Fest came around, we played that. Ryan and Evan had reached out to us, and initially we weren't going to do it because we hadn't played in like 16 years, and that wasn't even on our idea when we did the Severed re-release with the 2 new songs. We weren't thinking of playing a show. We've been getting offers to play shows the whole time that we weren't a band, and you know, get back together and do a show. But you know, Ryan and Evan convinced us to do it. They made us a really good offer, and we kind of told them too, you know, if you can do X, Y, and Z, you know, you got us. And we didn't think they would do it, you know, but you know, those guys are capable of anything they want to do.
Right.
So so we agreed to do it. We started rehearsing all the old songs again. And there was a moment in the rehearsal room where I'll just kind of, you know, stop between songs and kind of laugh and look around. We're like, man, this is fun. You know, we kind of missed this, you know, playing these songs, and, you know, but so the break was really long, but it was good to get back together and, you know, and see that we could still do it again. And Abscess kind of fell apart at that time.
Yep.
And so when that happened, we all talked about it. And we decided we were just going to go full on again.
Yeah.
And, you know, start writing new material and, you know, just do what we can do. So.
And when you guys do write music together, man, what typically is the main ingredient for a great Autopsy song? Like what, like meaning what usually comes first for you guys? Is it a title? Is it a riff? Is it you know, how does the process work?
It's it's always, you know, putting riffs together, and, you know, everybody writes their own stuff. And on Autopsy albums now, the last couple, everybody's been writing songs, you know, like years ago, me and Chris used to write almost everything.
Yeah.
And slowly Danny started writing more stuff. Even back in the old days, he started writing stuff. And when we got back together, everybody's writing material, especially with Greg, our bassist. I would say new bassist, but he's not new anymore. He's been on the last 2 albums, and he writes songs too, and he wants to put just as many songs on the album too. So everybody puts their own stuff together, record it at home, and send it out to everybody, see what you think. And then everybody can kind of get it down. We'll do videos of us playing the riffs and send them to each other, so you can play to it, watch it, and then we get to the rehearsal room and start ironing it all out.
So in that respect, technology has been very helpful then. Yeah, I mean, because you can do stuff like that. Yeah,
it's been fantastic, you know, with that. So then we get in the room, we start working it out, you know, see what it sounds like, and with everybody, you know, playing together. And sometimes we'll make little changes to stuff. We might like, oh, that part goes by way too fast, so let's double that, you know, or maybe it's too many times, or, you know, maybe we should come back to this other riff real quick before we do something else. So sometimes we make little changes, but most of the time when someone brings a song in, that's pretty much how it stays. Yeah. And everybody just kind of learns it. And then we go from there. Chris writes all the lyrics. I used to write some of them, but I haven't been doing that. My wife's bugged me a little bit to write some lyrics and do vocals again on some stuff, but I don't really enjoy doing the vocals. It's really rough on my throat. That's why I stopped years ago.
I can imagine.
Yeah, you know, when me and Chris first started, we were both doing the vocals on stuff. We were splitting it, and it destroys my throat, and I don't know how to do it right. So if I did, it probably wouldn't do that. But so with that being said, I'm doing a side project with a friend. I'm doing all the vocals on it. So I don't know why I did that, but
do you ever see Chris? You know, and it is amazing how he pulls double duty and sings and drums doing extreme metal, man. That just boggles my mind. I just find that absolutely incredible. But does he ascribe to any kind of voice care? You know what I mean? Is he a warm-up guy? Is he I know a lot of vocalists, you know, you try not to talk on show days or the day before, or they have little tricks that they do, warm tea, honey, you know what I mean? Warm-up vocal exercises. Is he a guy that ascribes to any of that stuff that you see?
Not too much, really. He'll do, like, you know, because he screams and stuff. Yeah, he'll warm his voice up a little bit by doing that. by doing some like not necessarily maybe screams, but blurt out, words, and just kind of warm it up just a slight little bit. He used to drink a little bit of whiskey before he go on. Sometimes he still does, but it's not like something where he has to, all right, I got to get my 2 shots of whiskey or whatever,
right.
for my voice. But so he just kind of breaks it in a little bit that way. Just by a few words, he might cough
There's the formula. There's the
big.
formula. Young singers are taking note right now. They're writing down shot of whiskey right now as we speak, man.
It's a good one.
Well, who knows, man? We might have lost them way back when we were talking about tape trading. They might be Googling what the hell that is right now, man. We just dated ourselves with that.
Exactly. What's a tape?
What's a tape? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kids, there were these things that music used to come on way back in the in the olden days. I guess that would be the olden days now.
I guess so. Yeah.
Now, do you like where the industry is right now, though, man? Like, we're making jest of it right now, man, obviously, but it is a streaming world nowadays, man. Not so much emphasis on the physical product. There are still people out there who love their vinyl, obviously, but do you like, obviously, we're not going to go backwards, but do you like where the industry is nowadays?
Not really.
No.
I'm not a streaming type person. I mean, I'll listen to something, but when I want an album, I still want the physical album, and I want to look at it while I'm listening to it, and be checking out the art and the inside. And I'm still, that way with vinyl. I got my son into records a few years back. He's 18 now, but it was one of those moments too, because he's, streaming music, and it's like, oh, what's this, giant thing that, but now he's a vinyl head too. So he's really into it. But
when you guys release music, and again, because the music industry has changed so much, I find when I talk to guys on here specifically from the rock and metal world, full albums still seem to make sense. Is that the case with you guys? Because obviously people are sometimes now releasing singles, they're releasing EPs, they're releasing, shorter bodies of work, just because you can get it out there easy. And I think people are almost, they don't want to be forgotten about. There's so much of an influx of music out there. Does LPs, do LPs still make sense for Autopsy?
It does. I think a lot of what you're saying, mainstream music is that, it's, bands don't want to make records anymore because nobody's going out and buying the records. They're streaming everything, and then there's no money in streaming for the musician. You don't get anything. So it doesn't make any sense. You got to go play shows and sell merchandise, and, Gary Holt was saying with Exodus, it's, people aren't buying the records really. They're selling merch at their shows and making more money doing that,
T-shirt sales. Yeah. To T-shirt salesman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so when you start playing guitar, or even now, is there one or two names that you look back on who you can say have had the most influence on your own playing?
It's the guitar players that influence me. It's not something that it's going to show in Autopsy songs,
right?
Tony Iommi obviously was a big influence, on me and trying to write heavy sounding riffs. Jimmy Page was a big influence. I play a lot of acoustic guitar, and I have a lot of different music I do, with that also. And Randy Rhoads, Michael Schenker, Gary Moore. It just the list is endless. You pick up some little theme from one and something else from someone else, and. But
if you're listening to music around the house, man, like what are your listening trends like? Are you able to find new music that you like, or are you somebody that kind of, okay, I've got time to listen to some music, I'm going to fall back on my staples, on my favorites?
Well, I do that, sometimes, but there's always something, new to listen to, even if it's not new, it might be new to me.
Right.
Or I'll discover, a band and go, they got, a few albums I never heard, or I've only heard this one album from this band, so that happens a lot. I get sick of playing the same things over and over. As much as I love, Led Zeppelin, I'm not putting on Led Zeppelin albums, every day or anything. But so I don't fall back on them a whole lot, but sometimes it depends. If we're like entertaining, have friends over, we're spinning records. Sometimes you might, but
the timeless ones, and now where do you stand on? Because I imagine as you get older, you mentioned having kids, having family, wanting to make sure that you set time aside for the important stuff. Where do you guys stand now on touring? I imagine as you get older, I'm not a musician. I don't travel for my job, but you do like your creature comforts. You do like to be around the stuff that's comfortable and familiar to you. Do you guys sit around and talk about a comfortable itinerary when you guys do go out and play shows? And what is that itinerary at this stage in your career?
We don't tour, and we won't never tour again.
Okay.
So what we do is we play one-offs mainly. We'll go play festival, fly in for the festival, play it. We're going to Romania in a couple weeks to do Old Grey Fest. So we'll fly in. This one's a little bit different because my wife's Romanian, and this is her fest, even though she lives here, in California now.
Oh, nice.
So her family's there. So we go back, spend a couple weeks there. But the band will fly in for the fest. We're going to show them a little bit of some old like Transylvania stuff. Then they'll go home. So normally we fly in, do the fest and stay a day or two extra, or maybe a day extra, and fly home.
What was the determining factor, like for the touring, or the scaling back and then not doing the touring? Does it have to do with just where you are in your personal lives?
Chris, Danny, and myself, pretty much, yeah. We don't want to be away from home, for too long. So we don't like being on the road, being, out there. And, it's fun being in the city, whatever city it is, and you're playing somewhere. It's always fun to be there and play.
Sure.
Especially meeting people and hanging out and stuff. But yeah, I mean, we all want to be home.
I get that. So, yeah. And so the last album, Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crips, came out in 2023. That was 11 songs, 41 minutes. When I see albums get reviewed nowadays, it seems like, and again, this probably gets back to the type of world that it is right now. Everyone wants everything spoon-fed to them very quickly. Do you guys also sit around and talk about how many songs and how many minutes an album should be? Because every time, like I said, when I'm seeing albums be reviewed nowadays, it always seems like, the amount of time always seems to be something that's heavily critiqued. This album was too long. It was too many tracks. It should have been stopped at the, I don't know. I don't know if you find that, when you look at your albums being critiqued or whatever, but do you guys sit around and talk about that? Hey, we want this to be X amount of songs. We want this to come in at X amount of minutes.
A little bit, we never used to do that. Now we kind of focus on that more. We have 4 people in the band, and all 4 people want to get their songs on the record.
Sure.
And so we do talk about it. We don't want it to be too short. We don't want something that's 29 or 30 minutes. I mean, we did one of them. The last EP we did, it was we wanted it to be a full length, but I think we had like 30 minutes or something. And Peaceville didn't want to put it out as a full length. They want to put it out as an EP, and we did. But we do talk about it. So like Macabre Eternal was really long. Yeah. And, we didn't even think about it going in to record that. We never once looked at how long the songs are and how long the album was going to be because of that. So yeah, we do look at it now. We're trying to stay kind of around that 40-minute mark. Yeah. And because people get bored when it's really long too. I don't. I love, bands that I love when they have a long album. To me, it's fantastic. I love it. Yeah. But people get bored with it.
It's a bygone era, it seems like. You know what I mean? Like long gone are the days of a 60, 70, 80-minute album nowadays, because people just aren't sitting down consuming music like that. Sadly, I guess. But
yeah. Now they get bored, they want to move on to something else,
Yeah, or they're just going through and they're just saying, geez, I like track 1, I like track 5, and then that's it. I'm moving on to something else,
Exactly.
Which is also kind of sad that people are consuming music that way and just don't drop the needle and just, take the whole journey,
It comes back to streaming and stuff too, because they can just, go wherever they want to go and listen to what they want to. When you put a vinyl record on, you're not skipping the needle around,
Right.
You put that on because you want to listen to that record. But people are, they can skip and they can build a playlist and they can only listen to what they want to do. But it's to each their own, I guess. But
with that being said, though, when you guys do put out an album, do you guys go on and look at feedback and reviews and stuff like that? Or do you just kind of put the project out and just who likes it, who doesn't, whatever?
Both. That's what we do. We do feel, whoever likes it, whoever doesn't, it's not going to change anything. But we do see stuff, people send us stuff, people post stuff on our social media. Peaceville sends us stuff. So we do see them, and it's kind of fun to read them. And even when they're bad ones, it's still fun to read them. So yeah, we do like to do that.
What's different about this, Autopsy, post 2009, as opposed to when you guys started, man? What feels different for you, man? Like, what's this journey been like, in kind of the second resurgence of the band?
Well, we're not kids anymore, so everything doesn't center around what Autopsy has to do. And that's the way it was when we were kids.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do. So, now everybody has, family, their own lives, and, and that's the most important thing, so the band comes second, to everybody's families and, what they need in life at that moment,
Yeah. Now,
so
obviously,
that's amazing.
Obviously, it's a very punishing, brutal style of music that you play. Certainly, when you're on stage, there's a physicality to what you guys do. And I don't want to just single out Chris. Obviously, he's pounding those drums back there at a frenetic pace. But you guys are all, really putting a lot of physicality into your performances. Talk to me a little bit about, because you guys have been doing this for a long time, how you guys have held up from a physical standpoint.
It's tough sometimes, being, as old as we are and, running around on the stage, everybody feels it. Greg might not quite as much, he's in great physical condition. He's a little younger than us as well, but I know me, Danny, and Chris feel it, when we get done with the show, because we do try to do stuff on stage,
Sure.
We try to move around a little bit and, make it a little entertaining and not just stand there, not that there's anything wrong with that either, but it does take a toll on you after the show sometimes, especially if it's like really, really hot and humid.
Sure.
And you play, 70 minutes, you come off the stage, you need to sit down for a couple minutes and get a breather and regroup, I guess. But
is there a specific point in time in your career, or like a piece of work from the Autopsy catalog where you would point at specifically, and this is subjective, this is just asking you, where you feel like is the best representation of Autopsy? If someone were to come and say, point at the album where you feel like Autopsy was really at its pinnacle, what would it be for you?
I think people would say Severed Survival or Mental Funeral, one of the first two albums, but I don't really have that. It's every time, we do a new record, we're really stoked about the record. And, just like any band, at that time, usually you're going to be like, this is the best thing we've done,
right.
You're really stoked on it. It's new.
Right. Sure.
And you listen to the shit out of it. And by the time it's actually released, you don't even want to put it on by that point. You're like, I already heard it 2 times. And you have to just check it. But
right.
But by the time you're sick of it already.
But you guys just put out an album in 2023. So now, at this stage of your career, what is a workable timeline as far as like how often you guys would like to get albums out? Obviously there's bands, kind of have a template. Every couple of years, we're going to put an album out. Then there's bands that have been around for a while, more successful bands even, that might take 5, 6, 7 years between projects. Have you guys had that discussion? How often you'd like to be releasing new music?
Well, yes and no. We don't have a discussion as in every 2 years or every 3 years, and we want to do 5 albums every 2 years. So in 10 years, we want, 5 albums, so we don't talk about it so much like that, but we do talk about what's in the immediate future plans. Like we did want to do a new album last year.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to do that. Life gets in the way. Chris had to have shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
And that took him out of the equation for a bit for us doing anything. So we just kind of, took a little break. And we're thinking about doing it again this year, trying to do one, but his surgery took a bit for him to heal. And then I need shoulder surgery coming up in November.
Yeah.
So we have themes that, you know, you can't avoid, and it's kind of slowed us down a little bit. We did want to have another one out already. So we're starting to talk about next year and show offers and go, okay, so maybe we need to take a close look at this and go, yeah, let's not book anything for, you know, X amount of months in this part of the year so we can plan on recording an album. So that's what we're kind of looking at now. So have to see after my surgery. We have a show in April in New York. And then we don't have anything booked after that. So we're kind of looking at maybe doing a new record, hopefully.
And now where does Chris stand on, and of course, you know, I don't want you to speak too much on behalf of him, but you guys do have such a close relationship. You know, has Chris ever mentioned about, you know, maybe relegating the drumming duties to somebody else and just being the front man? Obviously, you know, you talked about he had the shoulder issue.
No, he fully wants to stay behind the kit.
Yeah,
we played one show where he didn't play drums.
Right.
And our buddy Chad from Necrot played drums, and he was fantastic on it. And it was funny for Chris because when there was no vocals going on, he really didn't know what to do himself.
Don't know what to do himself.
He's like, okay, I'm not playing drums now. I'm not really sure what to do. And
just go off in the corner and just air drum.
Yeah, and he had his shoulder was messed up, so we couldn't really mess with him too much. Otherwise, we'd probably been bumping into him on purpose. But no, he couldn't wait to get behind the kid. You know, we were really happy that Chad was able to step in and do it and kill the songs like he did. But Chris really wants to be able to be behind the kit.
Yeah.
You know? So
it's his passion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's passion.
Yeah, he still loves doing it, so he wants to stay doing it.
And so before I let you out of here, man, I certainly want people to be able to tap in with Autopsy. I know that everybody is on social media somewhere, man. So if people want to keep up with what you guys are doing, updates on new music or tours or anything like that, you know, or I mean shows, I should say, where's the best place to tap in with Autopsy?
Probably our page on Instagram or Facebook. That's the two social media platforms that we use.
Yeah.
That would probably be the best places.
Yeah, you got to be out there somewhere, right? Jesus, I mean, God forbid you're not on social media somewhere.
I know. Yeah, it's 2025, man. You got to be.
You got to be. Yeah. But listen, man, I appreciate you doing this, man, and it really means a lot, man, being so generous with your time, man, and definitely keep in touch, man. When you got something cooking, man, new music, anything, I'd love to have you back on, man.
Yeah, definitely. What part of New York are you in?
I'm in upstate New York, so probably, and every time I tell people that I'm from New York, it's frustrating as a New Yorker because people automatically equate you must be from New York City, and there could be no other parts of New York. But there is a whole, I'd like to let people know there's a whole other part of the state. I'm not from Brooklyn or the Bronx. I'm 4 hours from all the excitement that people think of when they think of New York. So I'm probably closest to Syracuse. So it'd be considered central New York. So I'm kind of right in the middle of the state.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I'm not near the glamour of what people envision when they hear New York. You know,
I know it's a big state. You know, compared to what New York City is. Yeah,
it's a lot less. It's a lot less exciting up in my neck of the woods, but
that's probably okay though.
It is okay. Yeah, it is okay. I often look at videos and see people walking around the streets. And just, it truly is. And I'm sure you've been there. It is the city that never sleeps. You could walk down the sidewalk at 2 a.m. in the city and it's crowded. And I don't know if I'm always okay with that. And just feeling closed in by all those tall buildings. It seems like it's romanticized. We always see people in movies are set in New York and people want to live in New York. And there's a glamorous side to it. But I don't know if I could do it forever, though.
Yeah. Well, that's why you don't live there. You just go visit.
I just go visit and get the hell out of there, man. Exactly. I like where I'm at right now. Now, where are you located?
We're in Oakland. So right across the bridge from San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, which obviously has an amazing scene, man. I mean, obviously the Bay Area scene, the thrash scene is legendary. Yeah,
it's been around forever.
Yeah.
It was really fun being a kid and going to all the shows that don't happen anymore.
I know.
Clubs that really aren't there anymore, but that was really fun times, Ruby's Inn and the Stone and Mad, and, it was really good time seeing all these bands that ended up being really big,
And now concerts are just so outrageously expensive too. And I realize that everyone's trying to make a buck. And as we mentioned earlier, people aren't out there buying music the way they used to. Artists have to make a living somehow. We left about the t-shirt salesman, but I imagine concert tickets are a big way, but sometimes they do get a little outrageous though.
Yeah, they do. Well, you see some bands too, the amount of people that they bring with them on tour, the stage they do, it doesn't leave for them to really sell a ticket for less and make any profit at all.
Right.
But, so we don't bring a million people with us. We don't have a bunch of stuff on stage. We keep it kind of minimal. We don't bring equipment. Anytime we play, we just bring our guitars and the bass. Chris just brings drumsticks, backline's always provided. So that's the way we have to do it. But
makes the most sense. It makes the most sense. You got to come home with something to show for the fruits of your labor.
It helps.
You'd like to anyway. Yeah, you'd like to anyway.
Yeah.
And so the Instagram page is the best place, even for shows and stuff like that. You can get most of your information on the band there.
Yeah, the Instagram and then the Facebook Autopsy official page is good also. Yeah.
Okay.
They both get updated, and we don't put stuff on it all the time because we're not trying to push our band down everybody's throat for one. Either you're going to come to the show or you're not.
Right.
We do put it on there anytime we're playing coming up, and
I feel like that too. I feel like that too. You got to draw a limit somewhere, because on my YouTube channel, I host 2 separate podcasts. I do this one where I focus mostly on music and arts and entertainment, and then I do a boxing one. And I put updates on both podcasts through one Facebook page. I've had people say, why not a separate Facebook page for both podcasts? It's too much work. I don't want to be on social media dangling between 2 separate Facebook accounts, and I got to give an update when I'm putting new episodes up on this Facebook and then go over and log off and go over to this Facebook. I want to condense things. I want to make life simpler at this stage of the game,
Exactly. If you had to do that, you probably wouldn't do it at all. Then.
I probably wouldn't, no, because then it really does become like a job. It does become like a second job, and then my son and the younger generation have kind of chirped in my ear and said, be a little more active on Instagram. All the kids are on Instagram. So I try to cut up some of the videos, some of the interviews, and take little excerpts and try to make the little reels and the little shorts. And I'm trying to be better about being a little more active on Instagram, because I realize that, like you said earlier, you do kind of gotta roll with the punches and understand like the times you're living in. Like where people are going and where the traffic is kind of going.
Exactly. Plus, you don't want to be
even Facebook seems like it's getting a little antiquated these days. Like everyone seems to love Instagram. People love TikTok. Everybody seems to want to just be spoon fed. Entertain me for 30 seconds or 60 seconds. I want to giggle for a couple seconds, and then I want to watch another one.
Exactly. Plus, you don't want to be the grandpa that all the kids are shaking their head at and going, he's lost. He doesn't know what
he's lost. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to be that for sure, man. You can't really do that and host a podcast. So, you kind of got to keep your ear to the pavement a little bit and be somewhat flexible. But this whole thing about like having a Facebook for every farting thing that you're doing is just ridiculous. I refuse,
No need for that.
It's bad enough you spend a lot of time, like with your nose buried in these devices as it is. Like they really do have their hooks in you. It's really hard sometimes, just to unhook and just decompress from it all,
It is. And it's good to do that too. Get that phone away from you for a little bit and, do something
Well, we've
else.
gotten very dependent on them. Like it used to be like you panicked when you lost your wallet, and now it's your phone,
So it's still the wallet too, but
it's
now
still
your
the
phone.
wallet, right? But now the phone is almost starting to become, in a lot of ways, the wallet. You pay bills on there, you check email on there, your contacts are in there. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like they're running neck and neck.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, I remember Voivod used to sing about this stuff. I don't know if you remember. You remember Voivod? Remember they used to early on in their career. I feel like they warned us. They warned us that technology was going to creep up and somewhat kind of enslave us a little bit. Now everything's becoming just as smart, if not smarter than us. Smartphones, smart TVs, smart cars. It's like like how much is too much?
Exactly. AI is everywhere.
It is.
It
is. And it can be dangerous. Like I even see my grandkids sometimes, to a certain extent, getting crazy. And thankfully my kids are pretty good about it, but just saying, hey, we're going to watch a little bit of the tablet or play a little bit of the video games. and then we're going to rein it in a little bit, and we're going to call it quits for the night. You know what I mean? Because these kids will just get downright ugly about it and argue and fight and piss and moan, man. They want to be attached to it all the time.
It's their lifeline.
Yeah.
Kids today, it's everything's, that's the world to them.
Yeah. I mean, we come from a generation where we got outside and we played and we skinned our knee and we fucking got fresh air. And, I remember being out, from the time in summer vacation, from the time the sun came up till the streetlights came on,
Exactly.
I'm sure you're probably from an era like that too,
Oh yeah. That's what we did.
Yeah. I make the kids go outside though. I make the kids go outside. I do. I don't want them to be deprived of a childhood and to just be like, I had my nose in a device my whole childhood. That's not healthy.
No, but they don't know any better too, because
they don't.
Society now, so you got to force them to go outside and do things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you do.
My son grew up not wanting to do that. Video games and
right.
It's that Xbox. Is way more important than going outside to him.
Yeah, it's like they'd rather play Xbox football than go out and play actual football.
Right?
They would.
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, we're in touch now, man. Definitely stay in touch, man. And anytime anything's happening, man, with the band or whatever, man, you always got a platform here, man. We'll definitely do this again, my friend.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
I'll be checking out your stuff too. So now that I know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, definitely. I'll send you a link of the past episodes. I'm sure you'll know plenty of the people on there, man.
I bet.
Yeah. But it was good talking to you, Eric. We'll do this again, my friend.
Same, bro.
All right,
man. Good talking to you too. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you. You too. Appreciate it, brother. Right. Thank you. And there he goes, folks. The legendary ERIC CUTLER from the also legendary death metal band AUTOPSY. It doesn't get much more death metal than the name AUTOPSY, by the way. I wanted to give him a shout out and a kudos on the name. I mean, for fuck's sake, man. You know what you're getting when you're putting on a band called AUTOPSY. Let's just call a spade a spade. Killer name for a death metal band. OGs of the scene, for sure, man. I mean, straight out of the 80s, continued it through the 90s, took a hiatus, and have been back at it since 2009, grinding, and right back to giving us face-melting, punishing, amazing death metal. And so shout out to the fellas. Really love their stuff, man. If you don't know, Chris Reifert pulls double duty as the singer and drummer. Yes, there's not a lot of bands. There are some out there. But it's rare. Those are two difficult jobs right there. Not to impugn any of the other guys in their role in the band, man. But AUTOPSY is one of those death metal bands where the front man is at the back pounding the skins. So an interesting take, heavy as fuck. I would suggest you go check them out. Check out the back catalog. They've got some legit seminal albums in the death metal genre. Their latest was 2023, Ashes, Organs, Blood, and Crypts. And definitely check that out. And again, like I said, go back and peruse the catalog. If they're playing a show, and as Eric said, they don't do proper touring. So if they're playing a show, get out there, man, and catch them. Because there's not a super large amount of opportunities. So when you love these bands, man, go out and support them. Get some merch. Go to the website and get some merch. Buy the physical product. Get out to shows and support our artists. I always like to throw that little caveat in there. And again, super appreciate ERIC CUTLER from AUTOPSY coming on here. So big thanks to him. Hope you guys dug that episode. You may have been thinking that I didn't get a chance to address the elephant in the room before we started because Eric got in here so quickly, but you're looking at the smoldering good looks. You're looking at the luscious blonde locks. So I will confirm what we already know if we've been tapping in with PodScum for any amount of time, that yes, you are looking at the one and only love child of one Diamond David Lee Roth. It's almost confirmed through DNA testing. We're not quite there yet, but we will be. So there's that. I wanted to put that out there just to let you guys know. But of course, if you've been tapped in for any amount of time, you already know this. And soon the world will know. My fleet of attorneys have assured me of this. And hopefully there will be a teary-eyed father-son reunion at some point. It didn't happen when Dave just rolled through here last month and I went to see him do his solo gig at upstate New York's Turning Stone Casino. He snubbed me pretty much. So he's pretty much been a deadbeat dad the whole 52 years of my life. But listen, never say never. Always leave the door open. Always leave the lines of communication open. So, Dave, call me. We can always reconcile. We can patch things up. In the great words of our American poet, and I don't even know who said this, so I'm drawing a blank right here. We can work it out. We can work it out. Whoever knows that song, man, listen, man, that might be the theme song for me and Pops. Or maybe reunited and it feels so good. I'm not going to bore you guys with my singing or more torture you with my singing. I will not do that. That is not the way to end an amazing episode like this with the great ERIC CUTLER of Autopsy. I'm not going to bitch and moan about my lack of fatherly attention from Diamond Dave. I'm sorry. I just can't do that, man. I will not belittle myself. I'm going to go out with some integrity here. So I'll go into pimp mode instead and give you the 411 on the podcast because if you have a podcast, you got to pimp it, folks. The pimp pan is feeling strong. So here we go. Make sure to tap into PodScum on Facebook. The page is Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum. As you heard me tell Eric, one Facebook page, both of my podcasts. You'll get updates on new episodes, when those episodes are dropping, and any other big pertinent boxing news. If it shows up on my radar and it's newsworthy and noteworthy, whether it's happened in the boxing world or the music, arts, and entertainment world, I will put it up there. You guys will be informed. I always take care of my brethren. Your boy Reckless Rexx is a man of the people. You guys know that. My audience knows that. So tap in with us on Facebook. And as you heard me also tell Eric, I'm trying to be a little better about staying up on the Instagram. Same handle, Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum on Instagram. Tap in with us there. I'm trying to do my part, giving you little snippets, reels, shorts, whatever the kids call it nowadays. So tap in with us there as well. And most importantly, if you want the meat and potatoes, you want to be right here on YouTube where you're watching me right now. So this is where it really goes down. These incredible, amazing, real conversations that we have. And that's what we do here, folks. So make sure to tap in with us here by liking, subscribing, and smashing that notification bell wherever it is on your screen. I might be pointing in the wrong direction. So find it, smash it, and get tapped in with us because this is where you really need to be. And I appreciate you guys. Shout out to the viewers, the subscribers, and of course, the guests without whom I could not do this. I appreciate all you guys. And it's your boy, Reckless Rexx, reminding you guys to take it easy and keep it sleazy.